CNN News 18. I'm Maha Siddiqui. There's a major vaccine shortage in the country, so much so that there are several states that have had to pause vaccinations for 18 to 44 years of age due to this crippling shortage of vaccines. Many states have approached global manufacturers for vaccines, but at least two states, Punjab and Delhi, are now reporting that Pfizer and Moderna, the US-based companies manufacturing COVID-19 mRNA vaccines, have come back to these state governments saying that they will not engage with state governments separately, and that the central government, that is the government of India, should get back to them on having a procurement collectively for various states as far as these vaccines are concerned. Where does it leave the various states, and where does it leave the people who are waiting for their jabs as they face the ravaging and devastating second wave of COVID-19? Let's take a look at this package first, where we will consolidate all the details that have come in from the rejection of Moderna and Pfizer in talking with the state governments, to the visit of S. Jaishankar to America to look for vaccines.
As states scramble for vaccines to inoculate their population, their effort to procure vaccines from foreign manufacturers has hit a roadblock. Pfizer and Moderna have told the Punjab and Delhi government that they will talk directly with the central government only.
हमारी फाइजर से बात हुई, फाइजर वाले कहते हैं जी आपको नहीं देंगे, हम केंद्र सरकार से बात करेंगे। हमारी मॉडर्ना से बात हुई, मॉडर्ना वाले कहते हैं जी हम आपको नहीं देंगे, हम केंद्र सरकार से बात करेंगे। मेरी केंद्र सरकार से हाथ जोड़ के अपील है कि हमारा देश ऑलरेडी काफ़ी समय लूज़ कर चुके हैं, हम लोग काफ़ी समय हो चुका है, तो अब हमें और समय नहीं गंवाना चाहिए।
Pfizer has been in touch with the government of India from early this year and was looking for an emergency use authorization. However, they wanted the indemnity clause to be waived. This proved to be a deal breaker at the time. Ever since, Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech have expressed their inability to meet with the increased demand of vaccines. The government of India had asked states to look for their share outside India, but this has come as a cropper. In the midst, US has promised to share 80 million surplus vaccines with the world, including India.
The United States has said that they will be distributing these doses by the end of June. So sometime, likely it looks like within the next month.
This, even as External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is in the US and will be meeting his counterpart Antony Blinken. It is expected that this issue of vaccines will come up. He is also expected to meet the business community, part of the global task force that has supplied life-saving equipment to India during the devastating second wave. CEO of Johnson & Johnson, Alex Groksky, is part of the global task force, a company that has a single-shot COVID-19 vaccine. Bureau Report, CNN News 18.
So why this wait for a national global tender? Why can't we have one immediately to address the shortage of vaccines? Joining me on the show is Dr. Mukesh Aghi, the CEO and President of USISPF, that is the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, Ashutosh Garg, former board member, Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, and founder, Guardian Pharmacy, and KC Singh, India's former ambassador to the United States. Mukesh Aghi, I want to come to you first, Dr. Aghi, for the question about Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is in America at the moment. He will be meeting the business community. Are we likely to see this issue of procurement of vaccines coming up during the conversation at the roundtable?
Well, the visit is geopolitical, is bilateral, is multilateral. And one of the aspects of the partnership between India and the US, beside healthcare and education, trade, is investment. And the discussion we plan to have with the External Affairs Minister is about increased investment into the country. How do we partner with Government of India to realize the $5 trillion dream of the Prime Minister itself? You have to understand a healthy India is a prosperous India, and a prosperous India is good for American companies. So the focus of the discussion is going to be how do we increase investment into India and move forward on the economic agenda.
Are we expecting any of the pharma companies that are manufacturing COVID-19 vaccines to be part of this discussion? Can we see any forward movement? Because many of these companies have come back to the Indian states, and Punjab and Delhi have said that they want to directly talk with the government of India and not engage with the state governments, which are scrambling, Dr. Aghi, at the moment to be able to get vaccines, which are so crucial for India, as you would understand currently.
Yes, while the healthcare is a state subject in India, the emergency use of a foreign vaccine or foreign medicine is a central decision-making process. And I think these companies are right that they want to deal with one touch point, get the liability issue taken care, get the approval emergency side, and start moving the supplies into India. You have to understand, by July, US will have over 300 million excess vaccine. Almost 50% of the country has received one shot, and almost 40+% has received two shots itself. So we will see a excess supply coming into the US. And that's where Biden administration is weighing in, looking at partnership with India on vaccine diplomacy. If you look at the announcement after the Quad, was about partnership with BioE and Johnson & Johnson to produce 1 billion vaccines for Indo-Pacific region. So we do expect the loosening and export of these vaccines to the region itself. And I think that has to be a process, a transparent process, and discussion between nations to see how you can move these vaccines to respective areas.
Ambassador Singh, I want to come to you now. Do you think that we've moved a little slowly on this aspect? I mean, Pfizer was interested in coming to India with their product, but the indemnity clause was proving to be a hurdle there. Now, states are looking at these American companies. S. Jaishankar is in America at the moment, but still, we don't seem to have moved forward, even as the devastation is there for us to see around us due to the second wave.
I think to say a little late is an understatement. I think we're extremely late. Other countries, other persons, they've been booking these vaccines from end of last year. So we should have gone in very early, been in the queue, hedged our bets by going to as many vaccine producers as we could. Whereas what we did was, depending on Atmanirbhar, we thought AstraZeneca combined with whatever was coming up in the pipeline in India would be enough for us. So we miscalculated in terms of a second wave. So looking at the way India had done the bookings, I think we have backloaded it. The supply, as promised by the ones we have tied up with, which is the two local manufacturers, is really from August onwards. So now we are falling between two stools. Because now when we go rushing, then of course what the Union government has done is, they've just thrown the ball to the states, which is not correct. There's no way no foreign company will deal with the states. One is the liability issue, and secondly, they can't go to 20 states negotiating prices and so on and so forth. It has to be done by the union government. And I don't agree with the statement made earlier that Jaishankar's visit is all about a strategic product. It's about nothing else than really the vaccine, because that is something which is affecting the government directly and very seriously. And that is something which he has to discuss up front. So now there are two things. One is, what is it the US government can do? We were very hopeful when they made the statement about relaxing the intellectual property rights and going to WTO and getting a waiver. But when the G7 met, they again diluted it. They said, no, it'll have to be voluntary licensing. We'll encourage our companies. So therefore, India has not two problems. One is, I don't think two-shot vaccines, which are very expensive, are going to work for India, which means Pfizer as well as Moderna. Nor is the technology transfer going to be that easy, because there's entirely different technology, RNA. Even if they agree to transfer it, we don't have the people, the scientists, the ones who can set up factories which can trap that. So what can really work is what Baylor College is doing with the Hyderabad company. But those start coming again at the end of the year, not now at this stage. So, at the moment we are stuck between different things.
Yes.
And probably Johnson & Johnson has the best kind of opportunity for us, because we halve the price, because you only need one shot. So now, we'll be talking to Johnson & Johnson. I don't know whether that's really for the External Affairs Minister to be talking to private pharmaceutical companies This is something where a team should have been sent. I mean, the minister can do the political talking in Washington, but Washington will wash their hands off this and say, look, we'll encourage the company, but it'll have to be voluntary licensing. You go and talk to the company. So now that's the state of play at the moment.
Sir, I'll interrupt you, Ambassador Singh, there, because you made a point, a pertinent point about the IP patent waiver, whether it will help countries like India at this juncture or not. So what the EU has been saying, and Ashutosh Garg, I want to get you in over here in the conversation, what the EU, European Commission President has said is that a waiver will not help increase the manufacturing. The question at the moment is to increase the production, and we need to step up production even here in India. Why was a vaccine production limited then to 2 companies when we knew that they could not cater to the population of India? Till last month, they were making only about 25 lakh vaccines, 24 lakh by Serum Institute and 1 lakh per day by the other one, Bharat Biotech, which was clearly not enough for a country like India. Should we have then given licenses to other companies first of all before going to the WTO for a patent waiver? Should we have done that in India here to allow other manufacturers to get the COVID vaccine going?
Thank you so much for inviting me. I think I've often said this on your programs, over the last 1 month. Number one is that, there's this constant shrill argument going on, give, IPR waiver and we will start manufacturing. Manufacturing vaccines is not manufacturing toys. You need to have the facilities, you need to have the entire environment, then you need to have approvals. The approvals have to be done by UNICEF, by WHO, all kinds of approvals are needed. So I don't think getting an IPR waiver from Europe is the answer for a short-term solution. Yes, in the long run, which is 6 to 9 months, we should certainly look at it. Having said that, we should have certainly, allowed Bharat Biotech technology to be given to other manufacturers in India. Yes, we should be questioning Serum Institute on why on earth did you make such large commitments and not meeting them. And yes, finally, there has been discussions on a global tender. It is my view for a very, very long time that only the central government can talk of global tender. If I was sitting on the side of the manufacturers, can you imagine getting 28 states and 8 union territories? And after that, multiple private sector employers saying that we all want to buy and all on a global tender. And we know there are only 4, maybe 5 vaccination manufacturers. The Chinese I'm excluding. The prices are fixed. Gavi runs the COVAX facility. We are partners with Gavi on COVAX. Yes. We've contributed to them. We have prices. Get onto a video call, even if you can't go there, negotiate the prices and start selling. I mean, let's get away from this old philosophy of "Aap bail mujhe maar." I mean, everything is political posturing.
All right. Everything seems to be political posturing at the moment, and that is not what we need. We need things to get going because people in India require vaccination, considering the second wave has simply shown its devastating effect in cities like Delhi, Bengaluru, Mumbai, and now it's reaching up to rural India as well. Dr. Agi, in that roundtable and the global task force that has been sending life-saving equipment, S. Jaishankar is going to be meeting those companies. That includes the CEO of Johnson & Johnson. Do you think there is a good chance that at least, a political discussion on this issue can be done at that level, and then finally through the expert panel and the health ministry, that vaccine can be brought to India? Is that a possibility?
Well, I can't say that how the Johnson & Johnson CEO will respond to the request by the External Affairs Minister, but you have to understand the intent and the effort by the Global Task Force has been tremendous. We're focused on trying to bring in, targeting almost 100,000 oxygen concentrator coming in. Cryogenic tanks are being shipped in. In fact, yesterday, we brought in 4 trucks, oxygen trucks from Germany into India. We're bringing in antigen testing kits itself. So I think there are 2 aspects of the task force. One is the short term, trying to basically plug the leakage wherever the need is, calibrate that and keep on moving the supplies into India. The second aspect is a mid to long term as to how do we partner with India on vaccine manufacturing, because at the end of the day, India can manufacture vaccine at the most affordable price in volume to vaccinate the world. Unless the world is vaccinated, we can't be safe in isolation anywhere itself. So I think, yes, Dr. Jaishankar is going to meet with the CEOs itself, but I think the discussion at that level is not political. It's more of a business. It's about capacity. It's about technology transfer. And so I think we will see how it goes on, but there is an opportunity to discuss that and support India from that perspective.
Ambassador Singh, Antony Blinken, his counterpart, is away in West Asia. He is visiting West Asia. Dates coinciding almost with Dr. Jaishankar's visit to America. I think they only have the 28th of May to be able to get together and talk, as has been announced. Now, help us understand out of the 80 million vaccines that America says it has a surplus of, it wants to share with the world. Do you think at this juncture, looking at the situation in India, can India and Dr. S. Jaishankar bear upon America in that discussion that out of that 80 million, India requires a chunk of those vaccines?
Well, I'm sure that's where the political assessment comes in, and US takes a call because they realize that it's important to put India has slipped in this. It's important to put India back on its feet so that by August, September, in any case, we get our act together. The wave here also will start abating, hopefully in another couple of weeks. So this is the moment of transition. Next few weeks, that is very important. And we've seen the danger of under-vaccinating because this double mutation took place because there is a large segment of the Indian population still available to the virus to enter and mutate. And so it is not just a problem for India. US realizes it's a problem for the world. If you leave such a large population unvaccinated, then you're really allowing the virus to flow freely and therefore probably mutate and become more dangerous. So this is something I think it is understood, but certainly it can't be all 80 million are not coming to India. So it'll have to be a combination of new tie-ups,
yes,
ratcheting up the old tie-ups, getting something, beg, borrow, and steal. So it's a kind of scampering. We are running to catch up. Hopefully, we'll get our act together.
Ashutosh Garg, out of the 80 million vaccines that the US has, 60 million are AstraZeneca doses, which the US had ordered, but they are not approved in America. Now, are these surplus really, or shall we categorize them as rejects? And if they are so, then certain standards need to be met before they are shared with the world, isn't it?
I'm not really, I don't have all the facts about it, but as far as AstraZeneca is concerned, if they've been manufactured, I'm absolutely certain they are clinically, they can be given. Now, whether, I don't think they are rejects at all. But remember that, virtually all countries in Asia, East Asia, are struggling for vaccines. I mean, I was reading a paper on Philippines. They are looking for US to support them. Taiwan is looking for support. Malaysia is looking for support. I mean, as the previous speaker said, I don't think we are going to get a big chunk of that vaccine. But again, having said that, we must remember, let's not finesse the numbers that we constantly seem to be doing, that, I need 3,223 vaccines. We need hundreds of millions of vaccines extra in our buffer stock. We have been talking about a third wave. The US and Europe are already talking about a third shot. And even if we have extra, we can export them. I think the government has to ensure that we have hundreds of millions of extra stock available or extra stocks on order. And that is the only salvation that we have for our population. We've got to remember there's a war going on with the vaccine in our country. And we just have to be adequately prepared.
Ambassador Singh, I want to quickly come back to you once again. This is with regards to, this whole thing about richer countries having pre-ordered vaccines in bulk, and many of them are sitting on surpluses. At least America has said that it is willing to share 80 million vaccines by June with the rest of the world. What about other countries like Canada, United Kingdom? They all seem to be having enough and more vaccines. Why are they not willing to share at the moment?
Look, I think even Europe has not done too well. Because you remember, they were depending on AstraZeneca. And then twice the vaccination was stopped because you got some negative results. Europeans stopped it. So it was stop and go a couple of times. So even the Europeans, in some countries in Europe, they said, we'll not give AstraZeneca to people below the age of 55, 50. So there is a stop and go which happened in case of AstraZeneca. So the Europeans are not very happy with AstraZeneca either. Yes, the Canadians ordered a lot, but at one particular point, they really didn't have them in hand. So there is a general problem, but we must also realize that the worst affected were the Americans. You know, President Trump really mishandled it. And so America was really reeling.
Sure.
You know, therefore, the new president coming in on the promise he was going to first inoculate America was understandable. Any
right.
politician would do that. But I think
Yes.
America is just about getting out of it. They've seen also that where the vaccination has gone up in those states, even after lifting the curbs. In fact, 2 days ago, they got a day when there was no death. So the Americans have seen the effect of vaccination. That is not doubted. Brazil is still suffering. So in number, and Africa, there's hardly any entry made as far as vaccination is concerned.
Okay.
So I think we have a long 2 years ahead of us.
All right. Dr. Agi, very quickly, I want to come to you, and we are simply out of time now. So you have about 30 seconds to 1 minute. This is with regards to life-saving equipment that the Global Task Force has sent to India. But as you're rightly mentioning, this is an immediate need requirement that is being fulfilled. In the long run, India does need vaccines. Will the Global Task Force bear upon the American side that some, or American companies rather, pharma companies, that they should get into talks with the Indian government, central government, and then finally allow for vaccines to come to India?
Absolutely. You have to understand a healthy India is good for American companies. And if the pharma companies which are producing vaccine can work with government of India and bring in supplies, bring in manufacturing, bring in IP, it's a win-win for both nation itself. Actually, it's a win-win for the rest of the world because, as I said earlier, India can produce affordable vaccine for the world itself. So yes, we will have those discussions. We will encourage the US pharma companies to partner with India, both from supplying and also manufacturing in India itself. But you have to go beyond that. You have companies like Merck, which are coming up with newer technology, capsule vaccines and inhalers also. And we're looking at those as to how we can get them into India as fast as we can so you can support the population and vaccinate the country.
All right. Dr. Agi, Ambassador Singh, and also Ashutosh Garg, all three of you, many thanks for joining us here on this discussion. This is a very crucial discussion for India currently, considering states are running helter-skelter to get their share of vaccines to be able to vaccinate the 18 to 44 age population. And at the moment, as there was general consensus on the panel that yes, it is a national global tender that will work. States themselves cannot go out there and start procuring from global manufacturers. Many thanks to all three of you for joining us on this show here this evening. All right, we are getting some updates. Let me quickly point out to our viewers that there is update with regards to Moderna vaccine, which in fact has been cleared for 12 to 18 years of age group. So America will have more than one vaccines now that is cleared for that age bracket. Remember, earlier on Pfizer was approved, and later in fact Pfizer had also wanted clearance for vaccinating children above the age of 2. However, right now the clearance is only given for 12 and above. Runjun is now joining us with more details on this. Runjun, what more information can you get us on this currently? Because other countries are still only looking at vaccinating their population above 18 years of age.
Of course, Maha, but Moderna, in fact, is going to be the second vaccine which will now be used for children, adolescents actually, from the age groups of 12 to 18. Moderna is saying that after they've evaluated their volunteers on which the trials were conducted, these are about 4,000 volunteers between the age groups of 12 to 17. what the response they've got is that not only does the dose of the vaccine elicit a good immune response, but it's also very, very safe for children and adolescents. For now, we know that Pfizer also is being used for the same age group, which is 12 to 17 in the US, in Singapore. But now Moderna also will, hopefully soon start vaccinating children of this age group. But for now, like you pointed out, Maha, that we don't have a vaccine for children below the age of 12. But for example, Bharat Biotech here in India will start the trials very soon on some over 500 healthy volunteers, and these are going to be in the age groups of 2 to 18 for their pediatric dose. It's going to take about 3 months, but hopefully soon India can have a vaccine for the children of the age groups of 2 to 18, Maha.
All right. Many thanks, Runjhun, for joining us with those details. So the second vaccine that has been cleared, this in the US, Moderna has been cleared for vaccinations between 12 to 17 years of age, 12 to 18. Pfizer was already approved for that age bracket. So this is the second vaccine now approved for that age bracket. With that, we're taking a very quick break. News and updates will continue. Stay with us.